Hello and welcome to our Bruton Music Special. Today we're going to be digging deep in the archives of Universal to bring you classic TV themes, classic incidental music, as well as some fan favourites. So sit back and relax for the next 2.5 hours as we bring you Bruton Music. And we started things off there with Action Replay by John Cameron from the album Hot Donuts, BRG 32. And being that you're listening to this, you don't need me to tell you that Bruton was established in 1977 by Robin Phillips, do you? No, you don't need me telling you that. You also know it was in Mayfair on Bruton Street, and that's how it got its name. So let's skip the bits we already know and concentrate on the music. Why don't we have High Tech by Harold Fisher from the album Focus, BRI 24. And there we had High Tech by Harold Fisher. Now, you're going to hear me say that this is my favourite and that is my favourite, because, to be fair, they're all my favourites. I mean, what isn't there to love about the Bruton Music Library? It was a classic way back then, it's still a classic now. And I also love the simplicity of the artwork, especially on the album Focus, BRI-24. I love the orange and I love the picture of the old BT Tower. Absolutely brilliant stuff. But why don't we go from electronic to some funky crime now and have Drama Montage by Brian Bennett from the album Drama Montage, BRJ2. How incredibly 70s that sounds. Isn't it wonderful? Do you know what? It makes me want to put on a pair of flares and run for the bus. It's enough about what I do on a Saturday night. That's my business. Drama Montage back in the day, as you probably already know, was extremely popular. It cropped up in so many different things. It's a wonderful album. In fact, it was Drama Montage that got me into library music. It was the track entitled The Plot, and has also been used in Prisoner, The Famous Five, The Sweeney, the first series of Bergerac, Knots Landing, Sons and Daughters, and probably hundreds of other things that we never even got to see. Next up, why don't we have Funky Feeling by Mickey Anthony. This might be familiar to Prisoner fans out there. You will recognise it from being played in the laundry. But also when Kevin went to meet Doreen, or Debbie I should call her, for the disco. And he's there in his red jeans. Yeah, you know the bit I mean. It looks like he's smuggling a pork pie. And there we had Funky Feeling from the album Disco Happening. Why don't we have another piece by John Cameron now called Dance of the Robots? I would love to hear a remixed version of this. I think some great samples in there. But anyway, here it is, just for you. There we are. Isn't that just brilliant, that one? I absolutely love that one. So brilliant. And that was Dance of the Robots by John Cameron from the album Comedy Classics BRF6. Oh, somebody's just coming in through the door. It's Post Room Pete. You're right, Pete.
There you are. Post.
All right, don't take it out on me. Oh, he's not in a good mood today. It's not my fault you didn't get that job in Harry Potter. Anyway, let's see what we've got. Bill. That's to somebody else. Another Bill. Don't know who Bill is, but he's popular. Oh, got a bit of fan mail. Let's open it, shall we? Let's see what we got inside. Don't open it. Don't want to rip it. Could be some money in there. You never know, do you? Right, let's see what it says. Dear Rat House. Ooh, they know my name. They definitely are a fan. You know, I get so many fan letters. It's unreal. We just would like to say, wait for this, that we think you are a load of rubbish, and can't we have Rylan instead? Ryland. Never been so insulted in all my life. Well, anyway, that was Tomfoolery by David Schnell. But it's okay. I will rise above it and we'll carry on and have a good time. Well, I'm certainly having a good time anyway. I don't know about you, but I know I am. Why don't we have Brian Bennett's Mega Power now? And I'd just like to dedicate this to someone. They know who they are. So this really is just for you. You can see why that's called Mega Power, can't you? And that was by Brian Bennett, the legend that is. And that was taken from the album Big Wide World, BRN 10. So why don't we have now a piece of classic drama music from the album Interpol by David Lindup. So anyway, without further ado, and just for you, let's have Stealth. And that was Stealth by David Lindup. Absolute classic. Well, in a way, they're all classics, really, aren't they? There isn't anything that isn't. But that one you'll know if you're a Prisoner fan, used in the last part of the series when John Clifford White was music editor. Why don't we have a classic TV theme now? Well, it was in the UK anyway. Now, this programme used to give me nightmares when I was younger. You know, the E-fits, when they thought they would show you what the criminal might have looked like. Used to frighten the life out of me. Sleep well, don't have nightmares, I don't think so. I really don't. But anyway, of course, I'm talking about Crimewatch, and that ran from 1984 all the way through to 2017. Along the way, they had different variations of the theme tune, but you can't beat the original there, can you? Always be the best one, and of course, I'm talking about Rescue Helicopter by John Cameron. Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. I don't think so, somehow. Why do they have to say that at the end? But anyway, of course, that was Rescue Helicopter by John Cameron from the album Emergency. Now, can you imagine any other piece of music being the Crimewatch theme tune? It just really wouldn't work, would it? And I loved how they timed the opening titles to the music. The blue flashing lights and then the police cars all driving down the road in time with it. Great stuff. You don't get that anymore, do you? But anyway now, why don't we have a piece by Alan Hawkshaw called To Visual Effect? One of my favourites by the wonderful Alan Hawkshaw. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves, really. But anyway, why don't we check it out and see what you think? For me, it's a masterpiece. Absolutely brilliant. I do love that one, as I said before. That was, of course, To Visual Effect by Alan Hawkshaw from the album Top of the Range, BRN 14. A couple of years before Alan passed away, I had the absolute pleasure of meeting him and his daughter Kirsty. They were really, really nice, very down to earth and extremely humble. I really do feel very blessed and privileged to be able to say that I met them. They really were fantastic. And even though Alan is sadly no longer with us, his music will always, always carry on. So he's not really gone, is he? That is the power of music. Right there for you. Absolutely amazing. And that was TriStar by Alan Hawkshaw. An extra little treat there from the album Audio Visual Energy, BRI 20. And next, why don't we have Fun Lovin' by Johnny Pearson from the album Happiness, BRG 5. And after we've heard that, I will be joined by Jonathan, who is a massive Prisoner fan, and he probably has the UK's largest collection of memorabilia. But Prisoner was also well known for using Bruton Music, so I wonder what tracks he likes from the series. And that was Fun Lovin' by Johnny Pearson from the album Happiness, BRG5. As I mentioned before, I will be joined by John. So he should be on the line, or I hope so. John, are you there?
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. I'm really enjoying doing this show for everyone. I hope you're enjoying it.
I certainly am.
So, how are you?
Yeah, I'm still alive.
That's always a good thing, I suppose, isn't it? It'd be a bit of an awkward chat if you weren't. But before we get into the music from Prisoner that you love from the Bruton Music Library, why don't you tell us how you got into the show and how you started collecting memorabilia?
Well, it was back in 1990 when I saw it just advertised in the newspaper. It just said make a shot. So I thought just to see what this program's about. So I watched it and the cliffhanger, make a shot, and I never went back to it. Even though I really enjoyed it, there was a gap. So I didn't actually come back into the program until Doreen kidnaps Elizabeth.
That really is quite a gap.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason was why I didn't go back to it, but once I did go back to it, I went all the way through until ITV decided to stop the program, which I think was about episode 598. Yeah, and then it took me some time to then sort of cobble the rest of the episodes sort of together to sort of get to the climax of the show, which was a shame because it was then very disjointed.
Yes, because I remember when Channel 5 was showing it at the same time as ITV, but they were in completely different places.
Yeah, I don't understand the way the whole the program was just disjointed in every different TV region and the way that Thames Television and Carlton Television just messed around with it all the time.
I remember when ITV just used to take it off for 3 months at a time for no reason.
Well, they did that over the Gulf War. It just ended halfway through an episode and it was gone for about sort of 2, 3 months, and then they sort of picked up from where they left off. But when you're watching a continuing sort of drama soap, you sort of lose your thread. Um, Pretty much the same what's been going on recently with My Five, where it was they started it, took it off for 3 months before season two come on, and you sort of you fall out of what's going on, and then it's trying to pick it up again. It gets a bit sort of difficult.
Yeah, and also the routine of watching it because I used to watch it every day and but now it's on and I've kind of got out of the routine of watching it. So I'm trying to get back into it, but it's not as easy as it was.
It really isn't. I just bizarrely, before you called me for this podcast, I
Hmm.
was looking up on that TV2. They finished season one now, and they're starting from the beginning again.
Oh, really? Are they going from episode
Yeah,
one?
they're going from episode one next week, and it's
Okay,
like,
what,
oh,
what, why?
yeah, it makes no sense. People have seen the beginning like so many times in recent months.
And there is so much more good stuff to come. It's just like, please forget the first year now. Let's just see the rest.
Well, hopefully that's what My Five do and just keep going out. Maybe once My Five get to season three, then perhaps That's TV will show season two. Maybe they've got to be a season ahead, possibly.
Maybe, but I guess we just got to wait and see on that one, to be fair.
Yep, time will tell. Let's just hope it doesn't force the Prisoner fans onto YouTube. Low quality. Give it the ratings on the TV so they continue it.
Yeah, show your loyalty to the TV rather than to the internet.
Exactly. In terms of collecting, many moons back, early 2000s, it was an all-in-one denim jumpsuit. It was one of the first things I actually got, and that was on eBay. So I purchased that. The fan club that was around, they had some items for sale. So I picked up those bits, and then another collector then was selling some stuff. So mainly sort of through the fan club and other collectors, I managed to pick up sort of bits and bobs throughout sort of 20 odd years. And nowadays it's just becoming harder. There's still stuff out there, but it just doesn't seem to come up, or other podcast people seem to know people within the industry, and then they pick up a huge collection overnight. So keep trying, see what else is out there. But I think my favourite piece is the Wentworth Detention Centre window.
Yes, you know what? I thought you'd say The Window because, to be fair, why wouldn't it be your favorite? It would be anybody's favorite, but it's my favorite, and I don't even own it.
Yeah, it's such a iconic thing. It's something that was there for 692 episodes. Um, you know, some of the costumes that I've got, like Vera Bennett, for example, she only did 220 odd episodes, so it's not the complete run, or a checked shirt that didn't come in till episode 230 odd, say. You know, they're not, they're there for part of the series where the window is in every episode.
Yeah, and also was up there even after the show had finished for an extra few years. I mean, if I'm right in thinking, didn't The Window come down in the 90s?
Yeah, it was I think 94, 95. They took that road down. Um, we're never sure the reasons fully why it happened. But there was six windows floating around. I know one's in America. I've got one. As for the other four, we're not sure where they are. And then it was only a few years back, sort of 5, 6 years ago, they took the bottom row down, the big windows, because of neighbours. I know they sold one. One went for auction at the 40th anniversary, and the other five are apparently been kept somewhere safe.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but how would you feel about maybe doing an episode about memorabilia and your collection?
Sounds good to me. Always happy to share.
All right, excellent. So why don't we move on to the Bruton Music Library now, and let's talk about your first choice and what it is and why you like it.
My first choice is going to be The Force by Trevor Bastow, because it was when I joined the series, we was already in, you know, the hundreds, hundreds of episodes had passed. And this actually turned out to be my first ever riot, the Sandy Edwards riot, at the beginning of season 3, if I remember rightly. Um, it's just such a
Yes.
great track. It's a bit haunting. Um, it's just perfect for the scene as you've got that early morning. It's been raining, sunrise, and it's just a fantastic sort of piece of music.
It's one of my favorites. I mean, as I've been saying that the whole way through the show, but it really is. And it's from a wonderful album. The album's called Undergroove. And shall we give it a listen?
Yes, please.
Right, just for you. Here it is, The Force. And that was The Force. Now, again, what a wonderful track that is. I do absolutely love that one.
It really brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, I mean, I do know Prisoner as well, obviously, but every time I hear that, I do think of Jim leaving that shed.
Yeah, on that
Yeah,
sunny but wet morning. he comes out the shed and meets the governor, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
just turned up because she was away, I think, without kind of going back and checking. But I think she was away and couldn't arrive till the next morning.
My next choice is a bit later on. It's just about a year later.
Okay.
From the TV show Prisoner, and that's Propulsion.
Ah, by Francis Monkman.
Now, I particularly like that because it has that sense of sort of relief, tension, sort of quickness because of what's going on. Because you've just had a fire in the prison, and they're about to be rescued from the roof using a real Jordan fan.
Yes,
Just to like that.
As somebody no names likes to remind us quite often.
But it's a great bit of music.
No, it is. It's brilliant.
It kind of has you on the edge of your seat. It's that kind of intense.
Yeah, and again, like I said, by Francis Monkman, and I have to admit, it's one of my favorites. It really, really is up there, like probably top 3.
Can we have a listen?
Yep, let's put it on right now because I have to admit, I want to hear it as well.
It just is a great track. Just hearing that back, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, kind of. It's just brilliant. Absolutely great track. Brilliant storyline. Great sort of end of season, beginning of season. Yeah, they really did smash those couple of episodes.
Yeah, and also I've not heard that used in anything else. So to me, that is just pure Prisoner music. So, what is your third and final choice for now? Anyway, because you never know, you might be back towards the end. Wink.
My third choice might be an odd choice for people.
Uh-huh.
Might be an odd choice for you.
Okay.
And that's from my early years of watching Prisoner. I hadn't been watching it long when this storyline come up, and that's when Judy decides she's had enough and escapes from the prison,
Mm-hmm.
and she is out on the run, and she's been sort of staying with a new friend, Wally, for a bit,
Yeah.
and then
Good old
she
Wally.
decides she has to go, and it's a track called Running Colours by Simon Benson. It's it's kind of that she's sort of fleeing,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of upsetting, it's melancholy, it's
Yep.
when that episode finishes after Running Colours is played, you sort of feel relieved for Judy, but you feel really upset that she's had to
Yeah.
go again. And it's kind of, you go through like a huge mix of emotions.
So, should we have a listen to that?
Yes, please.
And then we had it, Running Colours by Simon Benson from the album Spectrum, catalogue number BRJ14. And again, isn't that brilliant? I just love the simplicity of it, but how it still works nowadays. It doesn't sound like 45 years old to me. And it really does play with the emotions, that one. You feel the pain. You really do.
You know, my mind goes back, pictures the scene, and it was used correctly every time. So every time it's for an emotional
Yeah.
piece.
Yes. But anyway, show must go on. So I just want to say thank you for joining us for now.
You're
Hopefully
welcome.
thank you. Yes. And we'll hopefully have you back nearer to the end, if that's okay.
Can't wait. Look forward to it.
All right, we can speak to you again soon. And that was Tomorrow's World from the album Tomorrow's World, BRI 21, composed there by Jeff Bastow. Bastow. And I must say thank you to John one more time for taking some time out to speak to us, and I look forward to continuing that chat towards the end of the show. Do you know, I've just realised I've been sitting here all this time and I haven't even had a drink. I'm absolutely spitting feathers. I might have to give Pete a ring to see if he'll bring me a cup of tea or something. I mean, he won't mind. He's quite close to the canteen. I mean, it's only about 6 floors away and the lift don't work, but he'll be all right. He won't mind. I'll give him a ring. Just bear with me a second. Hello, Pete. Oh, it's only me. I just wondered, is there any chance I could have a cup of tea? I mean, I can't really go anywhere and I'm absolutely parched. All right, there's no need to swear. I'm only asking for a cup. No, I realise that. Yeah, I know it's not your job. Yes, I know you're in the post room. That's why we call you Post Room Pete. I know that. Yeah, come on, just on this occasion, please. I forgot to get one. Yes, I know the lift doesn't work. Yes, you will have to take the stairs. Okay, thank you. Yes, I promise it just this once. All right, thank you, Pete. Goodbye. Oh, he's going to make me a drink. How marvellous. Well, whilst he's doing that, why don't I leave you with John Cameron's Constellation? Well, I hope he brings a biscuit. He knows I'm partial to a hobnob. And that was Constellation from the album Heritage/Panorama, BRN1. Oh, I think Pete's coming with me too.
Here, tea.
Well, thank you, Pete. I can tell you didn't begrudge doing that at all. Well, you're really chatty, ain't you? Go on, back to the post room. So I'll be put him there. Keeps him out the way. He's only allowed out 1 day a week. And that's under supervision. And that was Fun Party by Francis Monkman from the album Fresh Approach, BRG 8. Pete never brought me up any hobnobs with me tea. He knows I'm partial to a hobnob, especially the chocolate ones. It's just like, oh, I do love good dunking. Maybe I should ring him. No, maybe not. He'd moan again. Oh, then again, maybe I will. I don't know. But anyway, for now, why don't I leave you with Montego Bay by Brian Bennett, which was also the first piece of Bruton music heard in Series 4 of The Sweeney. And that was Montego Bay by Brian Bennett from the album Good Times, BRG 4. During that, I thought, I best not ring Pete. I thought what I'd do is I'll send him a voice note instead, because then he can't shout at me, So I'll send him a voice note, so we're just waiting for him to... Oh, actually, saying that, he's just replied. Shall we see what he says?
I'm not getting you any biscuits, go yourself. I already bought you tea in the post.
Well, that's very nice, isn't it? Get on myself. I mean, I don't know why I gave him a job, Out of the goodness of my heart, I thought, I see potential in Pete. I'm going to give him a job. I don't know why I did. I really don't. Get on myself. I wouldn't even know where to look. Be like a treasure hunt. I come in. I was just in the kitchen trying to find me hobnobs. Oh, I'm really not fit. But I got me hobnobs though, so that's good. I can't wait to start dunking. Oh, that kitchen is like an absolute mess. Anyway, that was Peak Performance. Not that I don't think I'm in my peak performance at all. By Zach Lawrence. From the album Expanding Horizons, BRN 8. Oh, I'm well out of breath after that. I mean, if only Pete had got me biscuits, it would have been so much easier. But never mind. Anyway, why don't I leave you with this for now while I have a bit of a dunk? Oh, excuse me, sorry. Oh, hello and welcome back. That was Breakneck by Mike Vickers from the album Dramatic Action BRK4. And I have to admit, that is a brand new one to me. I had never heard that before until today. So that just goes to show how wonderful Bruton music is. You're always discovering new wonderful pieces to enjoy. Next up, why don't we have Think Big by Francis Monkman, used as the theme tune to the BBC series Did You See? And that was Think Big by Francis Monkman from the album Fresh Approach, BRG 8. Now, are there any Neighbours fans out there listening to this? Oh, yeah, yep, there is one. Hi. Why don't we have now the very first piece of incidental music used in Neighbours, composed by John Cameron. This is Galaxy. And that was Galaxy, composed by John Cameron from the album Suspensions/Galaxy, BRI 9. Why don't we have some classic incidental music now from Season 4 of The Sweeney, Prisoner Cell Block H, The Famous Five, as well as many other things. Why don't we have Brian Bennett's Getaway from his Drama Montage album? And that was Getaway, as well as Flying Fists that snuck in cheekily at the end there. Both composed by Brian Bennett and both from the album Drama Montage BRJ2. If you haven't heard the album in its entirety, please go and have a listen. Check it out, because I think you'll absolutely love it. It's a real classic. And speaking of classics, why don't we have some tracks now from Alan Hawkshaw's Great Mysteries of the World? Let's have The Monster of Loch Ness, The Stones of Death Valley, UFO, and Valley of the Gods. And there we had The Monster of Loch Ness, Stones of Death Valley, UFO, and Valley of the Gods, composed by Alan Hawkshaw from the wonderful album Great Mysteries of the World, BRM7. It's almost time to talk to John again, but not quite. We do just have enough time to play Brian Bennett's video from the album Emergency, BRK6. And that was video composed by Brian Bennett. Now, it's time to speak to John again. Hello, John. Are you there?
Hi, how are you going?
Not too bad at all, actually. Just having fun here. How are you?
Yeah, all good. I'm enjoying it so far.
Oh, thank you very much. So what would you like to hear this time?
Well, I was having a little think and kind of casting my mind back through essentially 692 episodes of Prisoner, because to be fair, that's probably got such a wide range of different styles of music. So I was trying to think of what I liked, and I come up with Superlative, which is on the album Dynamism. Well, Chrissy's gone to the hospital and Neil's trying to plan her escape. Chrissy thinks she's about to get how can we put it, have a bit of fun time, but Neil's got other desires. He's going to murder her. But it's such a great track, so I thought, why not have that one?
All right, then, let's check out Superlative from the album Dynamism, composed by Paul Hart. And as we said before, that was Superlative from the album Dynamism, BRI 13. Now, I have to admit as well, what a wonderful track that is, because I remember those episodes very, very well, watching it the very first time. And I thought, God, this music's very different to what had been used up until that point.
It's kind of almost creepy. I think because of what's going on, it just takes that music to a completely different level. And it just works so well with Chrissy and the sinister Neil Murray. I just think that whole section is brilliant, and they really did, pull it out the bag.
And not a lot is being said in those scenes, so it really does help with the pacing and to help move it along.
It just doesn't need it, does it? It doesn't need all the excess dialogue.
No.
It's sort of obvious what's going on, and just the sort of the looks between the two of them says it all.
Yeah, so that's a great one. Well, Dynamism is a fantastic album. There isn't really anything on it that isn't fantastic.
No, it's a great album. I do really enjoy it.
So that brings us on to your next choice now.
Next choice is a bit odd, to be honest. This is going to sound really weird considering we're recording a Bruton special. But when I first heard this track, I didn't actually go, wow, this is a brilliant track. I actually went, wow, they're showing so much corridor. Literally, the scene is Meg walking down the corridors of Wentworth, and she bumps into Joan, and Joan makes a sort of snide comment to her, and Meg says, well, I'm resigning, I'm leaving, and walks off. But it's one of the only times you see this huge, really long corridor shot. So it's stuck in my head. And then you just watch it again and you're like, wow, that's really cool. But then you start to listen to the music and think, actually, the music works really well, because what kind of music can you put over a general scene of someone walking down a corridor? And it's just the pacing of the music. They've just got it. And it was used another time when Nola Mackenzie first arrives in Melbourne on the freight train. And it just works really well with that scene. Again, not a lot's going on, a train's arriving, but they've just captured these two scenes with this wonderful sort of melancholy type of music.
No, I completely agree with you there. And also, when we first see that train coming in and hear that music, we're not aware of what a big character Nola will turn out to be.
Well, no, because as far as we're concerned, she's Jean Carter.
So in a way, her arrival is underplayed, because we're not supposed to know who she is and what's going to happen later on.
I remember her arriving and thought, okay, whoopee-doo. And then she ends up at the halfway house, and I was like, she's a bit dull. Not, there's something about her, but it's not, marvellous. And then as it sort of unfolds and it all starts to come out, and you sort of go, oh, okay, wow. Didn't even see any of this coming. They played the character out slowly, but perfectly.
And poor Paddy never saw that coming either, did she?
And she certainly didn't.
Poor thing. And that was Kinetic Research by Trevor Bastow from the album Kinetics/Vision, BRI-8. Now, I have to admit, I can see why you like that. It might not be the most exciting piece ever, but there is certainly something about it.
Yeah, I just really ended up liking the track, and it just works and an enjoyable listen.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think over the years that has moved up your list in probably your top 5, I think I would say now, because it's something you always refer back to.
Yeah, I do refer to it a lot. There's a lot of tracks I do like, a lot from Bruton, a lot from some of the other music libraries, and they all they start to blend in my eyes at times. So I have to really sort of think about it. But yeah, I'd say it's probably number 4.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. I have to admit, I thought it would have been more like 8 or 9. So, what would you like next, John?
Well, again, I had to have a little think, and it's probably one of my favourite seasons of Prisoner, because it's, this season, we have the arrival of Joan and then the epic cliffhanger. But roughly sort of mid-season, Chrissy decides to do the dirty on Hannah and escape in her place. And I just love it. I almost feel like they had different directors at that point, and that they were just sort of pushing a little bit more. So you've got that fantastic scene where Chrissy comes out of that little sort of trap door on the side of the prison, up on the roof, and comes out onto the loading bay, and then sort of shimmies down on a couple of old sheets and onto the roof of the laundry truck and escapes. And that music that's played all over that section is just brilliant. It's sort of really fast, actiony, and I just love it. And when I watch it, I'm always like, yes. So yeah, can we have a listen?
Absolutely, yep. So let's have Battle of the Giants by John Cameron from the album Breakouts, which is BRK 7. Battle of the Giants there by John Cameron from the album Breakout, BRK 7. What a wonderful track. I mean, Prisoner used the first minute of that, and it just works so well with it.
I'd love to see some behind the scenes of that.
Oh, I'd love to see behind the scenes of any of it because there's not much floating around, unfortunately.
No, they could have done it maybe from some other angles. Maybe had a camera actually up on the roof, looking down. Just something, I don't know, more shots to cut between because it is so. I just really like it.
Yeah, it works very, very well. And also, it's kind of different to what we were getting before.
Yes, yeah, it's a completely. When you sort of think about it, it's sort of moved away from the sort of the early music that they were using. So Tony Osaka was really up to date with the current music libraries and what tracks were what, and he's what brand new albums, and he's getting things
Yep.
in there to make the series completely different. So you're not using the same tracks over and over and over. It's very good because we watch a lot of, there's a lot of television programs we watch in our lifetime. Using library music is complicated because you might want 10 seconds from the beginning of the track, 5 seconds from the middle, and then 3 seconds from the end.
Yeah.
And he blends it incredibly well. Watching some of the British programs from the early 70s, 80s that have used library music, they don't seem to know how to use it correctly. And that's quite evident in things like the Sweeney. It just seems to be very haphazard, chucked in, or wrong music altogether played over a scene that, it doesn't fit. So Tony has sort of sat and really thought about the music and what's going on in that scene to choose the right tracks.
Yep, completely agree. Because I was watching some episodes of the Sweeney Series 4. And even though they're using Drama Montage, which is a brilliant album, obviously, because I've told people to go check it out, they were just using wrong music choices and also edited very badly. They didn't even stick an ending on it. They would just fade it out. And it's just nah, it doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. And the problem is music is such an integral part to a program that if the music's wrong, it spoils it.
Yep, I completely agree. Music can really make or break a scene.
It certainly can. And you saying that, though, leads me in nicely to my next one, which is actually part of the end of season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You obviously know what happens at the end of the season we're sort of discussing, where Bea and Joan have their first showdown. So there's a lot obviously going on. In this particular scene, Chrissy is playing with some matches. Now, any idea what track I'm thinking of?
Would she happen to be in the library?
She is, yes.
Oh, okay. In that case, it's Tracer, isn't it, by Brian Bennett?
Yes, it certainly is. It's such an odd track when you listen to it. But with Tony again using his skills, all Chrissy's doing is striking a match and lighting piling up the books and setting fire to them. But that bit of music works so well. It's the build up to the chaos that is about to happen, and it's just fantastic. It gives me goosebumps.
Did you know that was originally from an album called Voyage by Brian Bennett back in 1978, and its original title was Airquake?
I didn't know. That sounds awful. Airquake.
I know, right? I know it as Tracer. That's what it is to me.
It'll always be Tracer.
Yeah. But anyway, enough talking about it. Shall we give it a listen?
Yes, please. Brilliant. Absolutely love that.
No, isn't Brian absolutely fantastic on the percussion there?
He's so good. I admire anyone that can play an instrument that fantastic.
And in my opinion, Brian is the best drummer and percussionist of all time.
He certainly is. The only problem I have with that track is I get a bit sort of, it's the middle. It's that little weird bit in the middle I don't like. But maybe it's because you're listening to the track. So when I listen to that track, I'm visualizing what's happening in that scene from Prisoner. So perhaps it's me being impatient.
Maybe, yeah. And also maybe because you're not as familiar with that middle bit because it was only ever used in Prisoner once.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's still a great track. I'll give it 10 out of 10.
Oh, same. Yeah, wonderful album. Fantasia by Brian Bennett, BRI10. Brilliant album, brilliant tracks. I don't know. There is nothing not to like, to be honest.
Well, I do have another track for you.
Okay.
Well, this one's called Technical Enterprise.
Ah, John Coleman.
That's right. Yes.
Yep.
This was a piece of music that it came as a shock. So it was an end of an episode, and Lizzie's been making a homemade brew, and she goes off to check it and gets caught by Vera and collapses with a heart attack, and then gets rushed to hospital. And the piece of music is played when Lizzie's being rushed in via ambulance and on the trolley. And it was actually a shock that I actually thought she was going to die.
It did help ram up the tension, didn't it?
Yeah, the music is so dramatic, so sort of 70s.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No, I think actually, to be fair, I think some of the 70s music is a lot better than some of the 80s stuff that's around.
Yeah, especially the later 80s stuff is a bit too samey for me.
Yes, but no, I think it's very dramatic. It's a great piece, really ramps up the tension, and do sort of sit there worrying for Lizzie. Will she survive or won't she?
So, just for you, here it is. And that was Technical Enterprise from the album Enterprise / Let's Go from 1979, BRJ 13. So, yes, did you feel the tension in that one, John?
I certainly did.
Mm.
I do like that episode. It's, yeah, just poor old Lizzie.
No, but luckily, sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but yeah, luckily she's all right.
Yeah, she survives to live on and
Yeah.
create more calamity for another couple hundred more episodes.
Yeah. But one thing I will say is where they proper did ram that tension up, like you said, you do think that's it. She's going to croak.
Yeah, because that's one thing you're never sure with Prisoner is, yeah, they might be a main character, but they can still kill them off at any point.
Yes.
No one's safe.
No, not at all. And that's the thing as well. Prisoner always surprises with the fact that it will happily just kill off a main character there and then.
Yep. And actually leading into that, this is Advance by John Cameron.
Yeah.
And I actually got that right for once.
Yes, would you like to tell the listeners the story on that?
A few years ago, we went to the KPM All-Stars night and met some of these fantastic, legendary musicians and composers. And John Cameron was there. Well, I just couldn't remember his name. I called him James Cameron, David Cameron. And in the end, I had to go up and ask him and say that I didn't have my glasses on.
Yeah. Are you John Cameron? He's like, yes. He's like, oh, that's good. I haven't got my glasses on.
Yeah, can you sign this for me then, please?
Yeah, and then he pretty much ran after.
I just had to disappear from him. Oh, such an embarrassment. But it was great to meet him.
Yeah, very nice man.
I think the track that we're going to play in a moment is just brilliant. So it's during the terrorist siege, and the terrorists are deciding who the next person to die is. And then they decide that actually the top dog, Myra, can choose the next victim. And then you've got the camera sort of pans around the room and you've got all these faces looking shocked and horrified. And it's such a dramatic, scary piece of music because it's her choice. She's going to have to choose someone. And little do you know what the actual outcome is going to be. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's just brilliant.
Yeah, and you don't expect her having to choose either, do you? So it's like, imagine being in that position yourself. It's just like, what on earth would you do?
Yeah, because these are her friends.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting if you sort of sit down and think of it. She could have easily have chosen. She could have chosen Lou or
yeah,
Joan,
absolutely, yeah. And a lot
but
of people would have done.
a lot of people certainly would have done. If it had been the other way round, Lou would have said Myra straight away.
Oh yeah, or if it had been
You
Joan,
know,
she would have said Myra straight away.
yeah, but as much as Myra had her arguments and dislikes of Lou and Joan,
Mm.
she's not that type of person. She wouldn't choose
No, and that's
them
what makes
because of
her the best top dog.
she definitely is the best top dog. She's in a completely different era of Prisoner that ramped up the storylines, the violence,
Yeah,
the acting, and it is really regarded as probably one of the best eras of the whole series.
it's my personal favorite. To be honest, I love the classic era. I love B. Smith and Doreen and all of them. They're brilliant, but there's just something very special for me about the Myra era.
It's more real life.
Yeah. But did you know as well that this piece of music by John Cameron, because remember he's got the same name as you, both John, was also used in an episode of Count Duckula called Dead-Eyed Duck.
So random, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a like a cowboy spoof episode. But anyway, let's build up that tension and have Advance by John Cameron. And that was Advance by John Cameron from the album Badlands, BRJ 28.
Great track. I'm sitting here and I'm almost in tears
Yeah.
because I'm just picturing of what's going on in that scene. So dramatic, just lost for
Yeah.
words almost.
Yeah, and we know what happens next as well, which again we can't really say, but I'm sure people have a good idea by now. It has been a long time, but yeah, we know what happens next. So yeah, you just feel it every time.
You really do, really do. That music never fails to disappoint.
No, and again, it was used in a few other episodes as well when Myra's threatening Ruth in the shower block, and Joan sets fire to the Baiku shed. And also in Rita's first episode at the end when she fights Lou and Alice.
So I have another track for you. Bit different, I think, to what we've had. Again,
Okay.
congratulations to Tony on
yeah.
his editing style. Again, he's looked at the scene, looked at probably many an album, and sort of thought, right, that track fits. It's where Janet Conway is fighting in the hospital with Linda Goldman, and Andrea Hennessy is kind of freaking out. And it's called Let's Go Fast.
By David Gold.
That's it.
It is a good track, to be honest. And I have taken it today from the album Frills and Spills, BRK 8. Why don't we give it a listen? And that was Let's Go Fast from the album Frills and Spills, BRK 8 by David Gold.
Only used the once?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
I think it's a good choice. Again, from a sort of an earlier era of the show. My next track is possibly one of the most harrowing scenes from, I think, the series. So the scene starts quite innocent, really. Bobby's had enough of Angel and decides she's going to fight her in the shower block. So what follows next is it's a scene that I never expected to ever see in an 80s soap/drama. So Bobby and Angel start fighting away, and then it cuts to Meg about to be raped, but not just raped, gang raped by two men. It just throws you. You kind of end up lost for words over it. But the music that was chosen works extremely well and leaves you with this haunting cliffhanger. The Net.
And there was The Net from the album Espionage, composed by John Cameron, BRJ 25.
What a frightening scene. You know, Meg thinks she's escaping her attacker and she runs to the front door and there's another man standing there who just pushes her back in, and then you get the fade out.
And also, what a horrible fault. You're free, you found help, and then you realise that he was just part of it and he pushes her back in.
It's
horrible.
It's so dramatic and
very dark.
Yeah, dark, not expected. But the music is just brilliant.
It really is, because again, after we hear The Net, it cuts to another piece from a different library as they're attacking her, and it's very uncomfortable watching.
It is an uncomfortable view, definitely, but I think that's brave on Prisoner to show something like that in the time slot it's in, back when TV was kind of safe. Prisoner always gets slated for wobbly walls, bad acting. No one ever says, do you know what? For 1984, that was a fantastic storyline. Wow. You know, you dealt with an issue that does happen a bit later in the program when they're dealing with racism. You know, they never get the credit that it deserves. It's always, oh, well, EastEnders did that first. No, they didn't. Prisoner did it first and should have the recognition it deserves.
I completely agree with you. I mean, everything else gets the credit for something Prisoner done first, and the acting isn't bad.
Not all the time.
No, there's some wonderful performances.
There's some really great performances that are unfortunately overshadowed by some of the wonky actresses out there. However, though, the thing is, they were cast. They passed their audition and got the part and was never pulled up on their performance. However, though, that goes for things like EastEnders and the other soaps. There's some terrible performances, but no one ever says, well, that character's rubbish. Gonna leave you with one more track.
So soon.
I know. My helicopter is waiting.
Fair enough. Well, we don't want to keep the pilot waiting any longer. So what is your final choice then?
My final choice is a sad choice. A character that was in the show off and on throughout sort of most of its sort of run. When you first see this character, you can't stand her. She's horrible. Then you get to like her a bit, and then you get to hate her a bit more. And then in her final season that she does, you get to really like her. And that's Chrissy. That last sort of season that she does, she's just brilliant. You really sympathise with Chrissy in her final year, because you've got the whole storyline again with Elizabeth. You know, she's doing really well with Elizabeth, but goes off the rails, ends up back in Wentworth. Then you got the whole Neil Murray storyline. And she really loves him, but then he tries to kill her. And just as she sort of gets over that, he then tries again at Woodridge, which was quite unexpected. I thought that was quite a nice little touch there. And then Chrissy's involved in, you know, setting fire to the library and the prison. And then you've got the battle between her and B, because they've been told by the police that they sort of lagged on each other. And then they have to work out what really did happen. And then they find out it's Margot. And then suddenly out the blue, Chrissy goes out into the garden thinking Elizabeth's there and finds out she's going to be transferred. And that's the last time we see her. And she just acts that scene so wonderful. And it really chokes you up as she's being bundled into that car. And that's the end we ever see of her.
Yeah, it really is a shame that we never got to see her again. I mean, she probably was my favourite character from that era. Before we play Airshot, I would just like to say thank you ever so much, John, for coming back and joining us again. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime. I really, really enjoy it.
Wicked. Thank you very, very much. So why don't we play Airshot now, composed by John Cameron from the album Current Affairs, BRI 16. And that was Airshot by John Cameron. Now, unfortunately, we really have run out of time, so I would just like to thank you all for listening and hopefully enjoying. I would also like to thank John for his marvellous contributions to the programme. I would also like to thank Andrew Stannard from Universal for making this possible. But I tell you what, why don't we end on possibly the best news theme ever? Let's have Alan Hawkshaw's Best Endeavours.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We really enjoyed doing it, and it's been a lot of fun. But on a serious note, licensing doesn't come cheap. Rat House has had some issues this year. He would really love some support and encouragement to do more, and that's what we need you for. So if you could paypal.me/Rat House Towers, that would be so appreciated. Lots of love. Thank you.